But we're gonna do a little, as I have in that title, movement of the spine and the breath, and just going through the ranges of motion of the spine and noticing how it affects the breath and the positions of the lungs. So it'll be a little bit of visual, a little bit of breathing in that visual. Hey, RT, all right, you made it, girl. Hi, guys. A little bit of visual and a little bit of breathing to kind of keep you focused on your practice, right? And meditation is exactly that. It's a practice, and it's learning how to be in the moment. In these times, you know, very difficult. It's really crazy out there right now on so many levels, and it's just becoming something bigger and bigger that no one has experienced, right? It's like the hits keep coming. So taking this time is really, really important, especially with all the amount of things that's going on right now. So our self-care is really important, and don't feel bad about taking that. Make sure you take it, because you can't take care of others until you take care of yourself. Okay, so we're gonna be seated, cross-legged or kneeling. If this is not comfortable, I want you to sit on a chair or sit on the edge of your couch. But if you are sitting on an object that's not the ground, make sure you sit to the edge so you can have a nice lifted spine, and then just place the hands on the knees. Take the shoulders up to the ears just once, and then roll them all the way back and down, and create a little bit more space between the shoulders and the ears, lengthening the sides of the neck. And just draw your attention and visualize your spine starting at the base of the pelvis, the sacrum, and just follow the line of your spine up the lumbar spine, through the thoracic, and up through the cervical till it meets the base of your skull. And trying to stack every vertebrae perfectly on top of one another, so that the head is just perfectly perched on the top of the spine. So as humans with a spinal cord, we are allowed a ton of range of motion through that spine, right? Think of it as 360 degrees of rotation. And it not only allows us freedom of movement, but offers us tremendous protection to all the nerves of the spinal cord. So a very integral piece of the body. So we'll go through just all those movements of the spine, and then focusing on how it affects or just changes the breath. So not affects in a bad way, but just noticing how it changes the breath as we move through the different ranges of motion of the spine. So just take a few breaths here. And notice the lungs just being evenly filled from left to right. So in this neutral position, there's a lot of space for the lungs to expand, and for also the diaphragm to expand. And the diaphragm actually expands downward into the torso. And you also might sense the lungs expanding forward and back. And then from here, slide your hands a little bit onto the fronts of the knees, and then gently press the hands into the knees and lift the chest. And you can keep the eyes closed here, or just a soft gaze. You just don't want to be wide-eyed here. So closed or soft gaze. So you're coming into a little bit of a back bend position, more of an extended spine position. You might feel the muscles of the back gently contract. And then perhaps you notice the front of the spine, the vertebrae, separating a little bit here as you open the front of the spine, and the back of the spine closing a little bit. And then notice the breath. Can you sense that the front of the lungs, the tissue can expand a little bit more in this position? And maybe you sense that the back of the lungs, the tissue is a little compressed. And still focus on the diaphragm moving deep into the belly as you inhale. And then your next exhale, go ahead and round the spine and round the back. Let the chin come toward the chest. Let the shoulders come forward. And tuck the tailbone underneath. So we're finding a posterior tilt to the pelvis. Finding a little more space in the back of the spine between the vertebrae. And the front of the spine becomes a little more compressed. Now notice what happens to the breath. Do you feel a little more constricted? Maybe you can sense the tissues of the back of the lungs expanding a little bit more here. Notice how the belly feels and the diaphragm, and just observe. Don't try to change it, just observe. By paying attention to the small details of the body, we are allowed to stay and connect in this very moment. Good. On your next inhale, slowly come back to a neutral spine. And then from here on your exhale, you're going to take a side bend over to the left. And you can let that left ear reach a little bit towards the left shoulder. Taking deep breaths here and again, observing how the breath feels. Maybe you can feel the breath expand a little more here into the right lung as the left lung is a little compressed. And on your next inhale, come back to center. And exhale, taking a side bend over to the right, reaching the right ear towards the right shoulder, and observe the lungs, observe the breath, observe any sensations. Right now, that left lung can be filled a little easier, and maybe you sense a slight compression in the right lung. Just observe, don't try to change anything. Next inhale, come back to center and final range of motion into a rotational twist. So twisting over to the right, you can take the left hand to the outside of the right knee and very gently sitting tall. You can continue to twist by gazing with the cervical spine, by gazing over the right shoulder. Keep lifting the crown of the head. And now notice the breath. Is there a side that feels a little more open? Is there a side that feels a little more compressed? And how does the belly feel? How does the diaphragm feel? As you exhale, release back to center and inhale, come right into the other side, twisting to the left. Take the right hand to the left knee. Keep lifting the spine tall. If it feels good, continue to gaze over your left shoulder. And then once you're there, again, notice the breath. Study the breath. Where is it easier to breathe into, and where do you feel a little more difficult to breathe into? Next exhale, release back to center. Sitting nice and tall in a neutral spine position. Coming back to the breath that we began with. Breathing evenly from left to right. Breathing deep into the belly, expanding the diaphragm. Take a couple more deeper breaths here. Letting those inhales expand the torso in all four directions. So from front to back, from left to right, without any restrictions. And take one more deep inhale and exhale, and then allow your breath just to return to its natural rhythm. So let the body take over in that. drawing your attention to the natural movements that occur with the inhale and exhale. Breath to deepen for a couple rounds of breath as you draw your awareness back to the room and back to your seat. And when you're ready, blinking the eyes open. And thank you guys for sitting with me this evening. Have a great night.